Hi Anna, my name is Kovani Mudli. I am the founder of Boss Babes of South Africa, a digital empowerment platform meant to empower South Africans, celebrate small business owners in South Africa, and also an advocacy platform for women to know their rights and feel empowered through my platform.
Cool. Thank you so much. It's nice to meet you.
Thank you. You as well.
I thought I'd just tell you a little bit about what I'm doing. I have we've been giving a project, and I get to choose basically what to write about, and I just thought the topic of digital activism was really interesting and quite relevant in today's age.
Yeah.
Um, and while I was on Instagram looking at the different pages, I came across yours. So I'm very glad to be able to have the opportunity to learn a bit more about what you do. So I just have a few questions.
Sure.
So I thought I'd just start off with asking, when did you create your page and what inspired you to do so?
Mm. My platform was created in 2020, actually in the midst of COVID. The day that we got told we were going into lockdown, I thought to myself, how am I possibly going to keep myself busy? Because I like going
Mm,
out, I like socializing, I like having real
yeah.
conversations. So I decided to create this platform just as a hobby and also just to
Mm,
share my own personal experiences with the way I was feeling and those around me were feeling a sense of nervousness, anxiety in the face of, you know, a lockdown five. And I thought,
yeah.
why not use this platform to actually move people away from fear more into advocacy, into facts, into having other
Mm,
inspirational women come on and, we could all learn something in this process.
mm, that's great. Okay, cool. Well, I think that leads me into my next question, which is I noticed in the bio of your Instagram page that you say a goal is to break barriers and to change narratives in South Africa. So, how do you feel that online activism can help achieve that, and what are some methods that you go about to
Mm,
try accomplish that?
yeah. I think we all know very significantly the hashtag #MeToo movement that became viral worldwide. And I
Yeah.
think for the first time, it didn't matter in which place you were in the world. Everyone was, sharing an experience that they had had. And for me, it was also leaning on some of my personal lived experiences where I never felt supported or I didn't have this kind of sisterhood and this network to lean on. And now that we were going
Mm,
into level five, I thought to myself, if anything, I could use this platform just to share my own thoughts. And I think for
mm,
me, the power in digital media these days, and more advocacy, if I can use that word rather than activism, because it often
yeah.
gets a bad rep. But the
Yeah, yeah,
advocacy
yeah. Okay,
element,
sure.
the digital media space, everything has just pretty much boomed from a digital perspective after COVID.
Mm,
We realized that
yeah.
we actually don't need to be sitting in front of our desks from 8 to 5, for example, in the corporate world, to actually be effective, to actually perform in line with what's required. We also, became very aware of the fact that we would wake up every morning and, nowadays there isn't really a paper. You start on social
Yeah.
media, you catch up with what's trending, you catch up quickly. In a quick scroll, you can get maybe the top five things that are trending in South Africa. So I think
Yeah.
for me, it was just about leveraging that power of community. And we
Mm,
experienced significant growth in 2020 and 2021.
mm,
We have no paid marketing, so I call it the largest digital organic platform, which is important because
yeah.
everyone who's joined in there has followed or registered online. Is someone really committed to our cause to be able to utilize your voice for greater good, for women to
Mm,
be able to also stand up for their rights, to know what their rights are. I think sometimes we end up in spaces where there's a very non transformative mindset, and women are now forced to try and fit into this, I want to say, 1950s culture before your time and mine, where women were seen as toys and sex slaves and
yeah.
just there to be an object. And I think my
Mm,
platform is very much about changing that mindset, breaking those barriers, and making sure that when women start to enter workplaces, because I'm also a chartered accountant and a governance risk compliance expert, that women
Wow.
are actually feeling that their voices are heard, they've got a seat at the table, what they say
Mm,
matters, and they're not just there to be brought in almost like trophies. I think that's really what
yeah.
I wanted to bring across very strongly in my messaging.
Yeah. For sure. That's really cool. I feel like that kind of almost answers my next question, which was going to be how you felt digital advocacy, as you say, has impacted your life
Mm.
or others around you.
Yeah, I think when I started it as a hobby, I never thought it would grow to the length it has. Great
Mm,
media, coverage in 2020, 2021. Um, being put in the spotlight so quickly as well when you're stuck at home. No
yeah.
one has seen you, and then suddenly after COVID, you go to the mall and people are screaming "Boss Babe." That was
Yeah.
that was quite an experience. But I think for me, it's never been about, I want to say, the fame. It's always been about impacting. And if through
Mm,
your impact you're able to make a big enough difference, um, you will notice my platform is very not about get ready with me videos. I've chosen to use it
yeah.
for, real impact.
Yeah.
And yeah, the fame obviously comes as part of that. But for me, the purpose is always about being able to use platforms for greater good, to stand up for causes that you believe in, and for things that really resonate with your soul. Because I think that's been my greatest success, is that I have chosen to show up authentically, the good, bad,
Mm,
and the ugly. You're not going to
yeah.
get an airbrushed version of I fell down a flight of stairs and look what it taught me. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
not going to get that. You're going to get a very diverse view of everything that is possibly happening in my life
Mm.
at one point.
That's so cool. Yeah, I definitely, when I was on your, like, going through your feed and stuff, I definitely did get the vibe of that it is quite, like, authentic. It did feel very
Oh, thank you.
authentic in that way.
Oh,
So I
that's
think
great.
that's cool. Um, what was your involvement with the recent anti-gender-based violence movement in South Africa? I saw that you, like, did some collabs with
Mm,
people and
mm.
also reposting some, like, useful infographics. So I was just wondering if you could maybe speak a bit about that.
Yeah, I think when I started my platform, it was very much digital female empowerment. And
Mm,
I think with everything in life, as we go through life, your platform has to evolve. It has to become
yeah.
more relevant to your audience. And it just seems like of late, there is a lot of workplace bullying happening. There's a lot of something that we now term corporate GBV, which is a
Mm,
GBV that's very hard to identify within corporate spaces. It looks like someone's just, trying to manage you, but it's actually not. So for
mm,
me, it was just about also raising that under another facet of GBV. I think everyone knows what Women for Change stands for. Everyone knows what femicide is, and often when gender
mm,
based violence is physical, it's very quick to say, ah, there's your perpetrator, and let's now, raise our voice. But there's a lot of silent victims that are going
yeah.
through emotional, psychological, even financial abuse within workspaces, simply because they're reporting into someone that does not believe that a woman should find
Mm,
themselves in any kind of leadership position. They don't believe that a woman should be transformed. And that's sort of how, there's a lot of friction coming, and I actually mentor and coach people on this, because it's really become a silent pandemic in South Africa.
mm, I agree. Um, what do you believe is one success and then one limitation of digital advocacy? Something that you've kind of found is useful, and then something that you wish that digital advocacy could maybe do better in, or
Mm.
something that it lacks?
Look, I think you put yourself out there, right? Whenever you go onto social media, if you get
Mm,
99% of people liking what you do, there'll be one post that Boss Babes of South Africa puts through, and you'll get people commenting and saying nasty things. It really happens, but when it does happen,
mm,
it's quite interesting to note what kind of dynamic it's coming from, because it also teaches us about maybe
yeah.
different mindsets. So that for me would be something that possibly, I'd like people to have the freedom of voice, I'd like people to express their views, but at the same time, I think what would be helpful is if you choose to express your views, make sure you think it through and make
Yeah.
sure you present it in a respectful manner. Because my team of social media managers are young professionals. I've got
Mhm.
three of them, and they certainly will not tolerate any form of cyberbullying, if I could say that, even though it's
Yeah.
not their own platform. Um, yeah, our Gen Zs are doing a great job, I guess, in just defining boundaries and setting that. And if they make a mistake, sometimes they apologize, and I'm not gonna um, be hard on them for that because everyone is learning, and
Mhm.
I expect my audience to also support them in their journey of building their own
Yeah.
careers within Boss Babes of South Africa. And in terms of the goodness of digital media, social media, I think it's just creating your brand presence. For me, nothing is stronger. To find a job, to
Mm.
leave a job, to tell your story, to advocate for something, you need to have your voice out there. You need to have your brand out there. And I think for me, it's been powerful across LinkedIn, Instagram. I've recently
Mm.
been starting to use TikTok. It's also been quite a new learning challenge for me. But having your
Mm.
brand out there, having the impact that you make out there, is about really solidifying your presence in the world. And for me, it's really been about social impact and social change.
Mm. Cool. Well, that's great. That's all I have to ask, so I won't
Okay.
keep you for any longer. But thank you so
No,
much. I
thank
really
you.
do appreciate you making time.
Thanks. I
Um,
appreciate it.
so
What are
yeah,
you
this
doing
was
there
very
at
helpful.
UCT again? I forgot.
I'm in my second year. I do a BA, and one of my majors is media and writing. So right now we're doing kind of like a journalism course, and
Ah,
so that's why we have to do an investigative piece with like some interviews and
I
research and stuff. So
see.
yeah,
I see.
yeah.
All the very best, our future journalist in the making. And yeah, I hope
Thank
that
you so
we
much.
cross paths in some way in the future as well. Wishing
Yeah,
you all of the best.
thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Okay, no problem.
Have a good rest
Cheers.
of your
You
day.
too. Bye bye.
Bye bye.